Hello, Sustainable Brands. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about what it's like to be ghosted by the American dream. But let me start and just get a little personal for a second and tell you a little bit about me. So my family's from Haiti, which you might know is an incredibly stricken, poor country. It's suffered all sorts of oppression from around the world, including from Haitians themselves. This is Papa Doc, the dictator. What happened here? Hold on. These are my parents. They fled Haiti at the height of this kind of oppression in the 60s as teenagers. And they started a new life. This is their wedding day when they were 19. And really, the United States symbolized something profound. It was an escape. It was an opportunity to reclaim their agency and really reclaim their destiny, really escape the turmoil that was in Haiti. And they came to New York in that time frame. And New York at that time frame was, tons of immigrants were coming from all over the world. It was rich, culturally abounding, tons of things were going on. And it really served as a chance for my parents to break the station that they were born into. Because really, like many Haitians that were stuck in Haiti, there were very few opportunities. You couldn't really, not only about financial development, but you really were sort of stuck. You were sort of stuck. And so my parents broke that out in New York, and they had 3 kids. I'm one of those kids. I ended up starting a company, a strategy and design consultancy called SYLVAIN. Check us out, sylvain.co. We're about 100 people. We're a certified B Corp. We work with a lot of big companies and helping them think about how they show up from an innovation and brand strategy perspective. But it really, as I think about my company, I really think about how it fits in that narrative of the American dream. The core idea that drove my parents to get on a plane and come to New York. Really factoring in all the oppression that came before that, factoring the legacy of slavery, factoring in all sorts of kind of forces that allowed for this company to happen. And then I think about my own kids. I have 3 children. And thinking about how that narrative continues. The American dream is absolutely a part of my story. And let's talk about the dream and where it was invented. It was actually, the first time it was used, it was written by this author and historian named James Truslow Adams, where he said, that dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. This is kind of the core idea. This is the idea of the American dream that so many people have been gravitated towards. And let's break it down. This is a kind of a key part of the definition. Be better and richer and fuller for everyone. And that's really about upward mobility. The American dream needs to have this concept of you can move up in your station. And really this idea of equality, that it applies to everybody. There's also this notion of opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. And that's really about meritocracy and freedom. So let's break down what the American dream really means, okay? Just so we're all on the same page. The first, equality, applies to everybody, no matter who you are. 2, upward mobility, that anybody has the opportunity to kind of progress in their life. That's the American dream. 3, freedom, that you actually have the freedom of choice in every aspect of your life. And meritocracy, that really it's about the virtue and the competence and the power of what you can do versus where you were born. And these are the ideas that drive so many people to come to this country, like my family. Or, really the story of America. You think about the immigrants in the early 20th century that came to the country, really drawn to this promise, really, and taking full advantage. That idea, that core idea of the American dream continues today. And what's ironic is that it's a political issue, it's a controversial issue. But people are drawn to this country for this idea that has been shared over and over and over again. It's branded right there on the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. It's a powerful concept. But over time, the American dream has come to be associated with enough economic success to lead a comfortable life. I would argue that the American dream, the concept of the American dream, this kind of Puritan, wholesome concept that drew my parents, has been corrupted a bit. And it's been really connected to financial success alone. And the American dream has sort of been presented to us as a financial opportunity, actually as a financial moment, that you only achieve the American dream if, in fact, you experience some sort of financial freedom. So how did that happen? It's actually generations and decades of a fully strategic, architected media strategy by Hollywood and media to present concepts of upward mobility, of the seeming peaceful world, and a lot of nuclear, wholesome white suburban families that presented these concepts that people were drawn to, and it really synced with the spread of media in the mid 20th century. Furthered even more so by advertising. Advertising really put out this veneer of what the American dream needed to be. It was about consumerism. You needed to buy that dishwasher. You needed to buy the refrigerator. You needed to buy the Tupperware to, in fact, believe, to really fit into this concept of the American dream. And I don't know about you, but I'm a kid of a certain generation. This commercial was fucking crazy, okay? In the 80s, it was Calvin Got a Job, right? I don't know if anybody knows this commercial, but this commercial was a huge deal for people like me that grew up in Queens, New York, where it was really about the American dream. It was really about this idea that you can make it, you can pull yourself out of where you come from. It was about this young kid named Calvin who got a job at McDonald's. These images of a financial freedom is sometimes confused as the American dream. And influencers to this day do this. They present these kind of fictitious ideas, these images that lead you to believe that maybe there's more to strive for, maybe there's more to achieve. And actually, if you Google the American dream, and you'll see that there's a lot of attention around the idea of whether or not the American dream is alive. And a lot of people say that in fact it is. The American dream is alive and well. And you kind of have to question whether it's alive and well when everyone's like, it's alive, I swear it's alive, it's alive. Is it really? Like, are we really that confident that it's alive? But why do we want that? Why do we want that confidence? Belief in one's ability to exert control over the environment and to produce desired results is essential for an individual's well-being. That agency is actually evolutionary. It's a primal instinct. It's neurological for us to believe that we can control where we're going. And that's why we're drawn to the American dream. It is an absolutely neurological thing. And that was the instinct my parents had, that they were like, we can do something about this. That's why we're drawn to the American dream. It's the hope. But the great American philosopher George Carlin said, the reason they call it the American dream is because you have to be asleep to believe it. And let me explain, and it's going to get a little dark, so bear with me, buckle up. Let me explain why that might be, okay? So $392,000 is the national median listing price for an active home. So this idea that you can achieve a home very easily is actually, it's not that easy. It's quite challenging. U.S. health costs threaten the American dream. The health debt, the medical debt, the healthcare system is such that doesn't necessarily favor all Americans. 180% the price to attend a 4-year public college as a full-time student has risen from 1980 to 2020. So it's increased almost by twofold. My son is looking at colleges now and it's like, what are you talking about? That, my parents went to a community college in Queens and they were drawn to that free opportunity for education, and to think that you've got tuition that can be up to $100,000 a year. Is that the American dream? How about workers' pay globally hasn't kept up with inflation? Or the fundamental right to control your body has actually been taken away over the last year. And remember, freedom was kind of a key part of the American dream. So I question whether all of this is true. And I actually would go as far as to say that companies are conspiring to really cripple the meaning of the American dream. You look at companies like Zillow that are eating up starter homes and real estate and reselling them, really forcing people into foreclosures. Or you look at the role of social media in furthering the American democracy, or I should say, undermining the American democracy. So I told you it would get dark. So is the American dream alive? If all those things, education, jobs, homes, if all that stuff is under question, and if it's bad for us of a certain generation, what does it mean for kids? What does it mean for young people? I mentioned my kids. Like, how are young people relating to this ideal that we were raised with, and that is really branded on the American flag? And in my view, these young kids, they feel ghosted. They feel ghosted. They feel this idea that you have upward mobility, freedom, meritocracy, that actually that's not true. They don't feel the American dream is going to get back to them. They feel ghosted by the American dream. And I'll explain why. 71% of American adults under 30 either say that it doesn't exist or are uncertain whether the American dream even exists in and of itself. There's real doubt among this generation whether that's even real. You think about my parents, and you think just 2 generations later how young people feel. 52% of Americans under 30 reported feeling down, depressed, or hopeless for several days or more in the past 2 weeks. There's a real sense I don't need to tell you about the power of depression today, that a lot of people don't feel this incredible sense of confidence and agency that drove the American dream. And it's what's crazy about it is that there's kind of 2 things that happen with Gen Z when it comes to these ideas. One, nihilism, where they sort of bail out. You're seeing, you remember the Great Resignation last year or whatever. You see a lot of young people are sort of bailing. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't believe in this. But the part that gets me excited, is not this, actually. It's the next slide. But I'm getting there. They're quitting jobs. They're also quitting jobs. They find it soul-sucking. They're quitting jobs. They're bailing. But the part that gets me excited is this right here. Young people are willing to rewrite the American dream. For the first time, okay? This country, 250-year-old country, they're going as far to reclaim what it means. And we just saw with Maxwell Frost, the first Gen Z member of Congress, people are politically active. These young people are politically active. They're running for office. They're organizing. They're creating new movements in ways that we've never seen. And if you think about it, that sort of political civic responsibility, that civic commitment, that's more like American than anything, right? That's the American ideal. And together, what we're seeing with these young people, and I spend a lot of time with young people and talking about how they review the country and they view brands, kind of realize that we're experiencing a sort of collective sobriety, that we've been drunk with this idea of the American dream, propagated by media and advertising, consumerism, propagated with the Kardashians and all the influencers and all these things. Young people are kind of looking at each other and like, this isn't real. And we actually have control. And so it's not really about an American dream anymore. To me, it's about young people saying, you know what, this is an imperfect reality. This is not perfect. We know it's not perfect. We can do something about it. And that is an incredible sense of agency. That's incredibly empowering, and nothing says it better than this quote from Amanda Gorman's great inauguration poem. And remember, she herself is Gen Z, right? And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose. I love this quote because it says that collective sobriety thing. It's an acknowledgement. Things are not perfect. You did not hear that among young people in the same way. You can refer to the 60s and the 70s and political activism there. That was a pretty serious criticism. But what's inspiring to me about this is that last sentence. We are striving to forge our union with purpose. This is optimism. Remember how much like the darkness that I shared earlier? This is a sense of optimism. They feel empowered. And to me, there's shifts happening, 3 shifts right here, right? So one, young people are evolving from thinking about individual gains, individual luxuries, and much more thinking about collective gains. And brands are seeing that, enabling that. They're bringing young people into the development of their ideas and making it more of a collective experience versus a personal and individual aspiration. 2, blind materialism is kind of shifting to critical consumption. All Apple had to do was put out a product and people would go out and buy it. But today, young people are asking for more candor. They're asking for more transparency in how things are made. You see that with ThreadUp, where you can actually track the CO2 impact of any fashion product. That's new. That's a new thing, this kind of critical consumption. 3, reactive choices versus proactive living. Part of the American dream were these kind of fictitious, prototypical ideals. Like I said, the white suburban family. But now young people feel they can be whoever they want to be. they can live the life that they want to live. They can be proactive. And so the brands that are allowing for that freedom, I think, are worth noting. And you see that a lot in Sims, where they're allowing people to create these simulated identities that are flexible and inclusive, allowing for top surgery scars, for example. So we're seeing shifts. We're seeing young people taking a new ownership of the American dream, where they're thinking about collective gain. They're critical about their consumption, and they're proactive about the choices and the lives they want to live. My name is Alain. I'm the founder and CEO of SYLVAIN. Check us out. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks.